Level up your business. Get my free insights every week at stevebreda.com/newsletter. Good day, dear listeners. Steve Breda here with the Management Blueprint podcast. And my guest today is Max Kryzhanovskiy, the president and CEO of MOS Creative, a company that builds websites and apps that drive growth. They were the first company in Baltimore to have launched a mobile site. Welcome to the show, Max.
Thank you for having me.
Let me ask you this. What is a mobile site? Is it like a mobile phone site or it's something different?
I mean, now, a lot of people probably doesn't matter at this point anymore because everybody obviously has a website that's working on a smartphone screen or responsive websites. But before, when mobile websites came out, or I should say when smartphones came out, it was adjusted screen. So it was a smaller screen. We were all used to bigger screens on a computer. And then once we started having different screen sizes come out before responsive, we were the first company to have a mobile website in Baltimore, and we actually built a web application specifically to create them for ourselves, and then also went to market to offer it to other clients as well. So a mobile website is just like it sounds, a website that's specifically designed for mobile.
That's cool. So it sounds like you are very much a tech-forward company and you are at the edge of technology. And as you are logging on, you said that you would be recording this on your phone because you actually have AI agents running on your computer. Does it mean that you have like AI agents, use them as a part of your team, or what kind of agents do you have? Is it an experiment or is it already in actual execution mode?
It is an execution mode, but we're always experimenting, try to think that we are ahead of the curve. But, with AI, we're all experimenting to a certain extent, right? Something new comes out, we try it out, see if it works, how it can be applied into your business, what kind of outcomes they're going to give you. So I'm all about AI. It's amazing. It's an amazing tool, but I think AI is becoming a lot more than what we thought it was going to be, and also a lot less at the same time. Meaning, when AI was launched, for example, when ChatGPT came out with AI, I mean, obviously AI has been around for a while, but when ChatGPT came out to the broad market with their chatbot, with their platform, we were just so amazed at how much work it could be done. So it went from 0 to 100, and like, oh my God, I can do all of this, right? But now, for example, the most recent model, 4.5 to 5.0, the outcome is a lot less. So not 100% or 1,000% more, but now it's only like 5-10% more. But the cost is starting to grow. I just read somewhere even Claude said that Claude Code is not going to be included very soon as part of the regular plan. So it's only $200 in the higher plan, plus you're going to have to buy a whole bunch of tokens. So it's really becoming more of like, hey, yeah, we can do this for you, but you're going to be paying the same thing as you're paying the team. This is more like, let us get in the market, let's get a lot of people interested. And now obviously they have a lot of money behind them, right? A lot of investors, VCs, going public. You got to make sure you're actually bringing money in. So I think it's going to change very, very soon. I think it's going to become a lot more expensive because the infrastructure, the resources that it needs is expensive. So, the cost is going to be passed on to the users.
Yeah, and I noticed that ChatGPT started to do some ads as well. They're probably going to go that direction, and who knows what that's going to bring. But this is not our topic today. It's about something else, frameworks. But before I go to the framework question, I'd like to ask you, what is your personal why and how are you manifesting it in MOS Creative?
Well, I'm a family man, so my why is to see my kids grow up to be amazing humans and hopefully show them great example of what can be accomplished in sports and in business. So my why is just also to be a good human, to be able to, like, success for me is, success can be defined to many people in different ways, but I love the hunt in order to get to a certain success point. And then, it's kind of like us as humans, or a lot of people that fall into the category. Once we get to certain success, we're like, we don't really celebrate it. It's like, oh, let's get to the next level. My why is to show my kids that anything's possible if they really want to do it. Why I got into the space, it was exciting. You saw how quickly technology moved, the innovation that could happen with it, and it excited me. So that was the main purpose, one of the main purposes of actually why I got into technology. But the other reason was because I was in a different business and we created technology that was able to help us grow. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like a completely different way to be able to scale a business. So technology was kind of like the direction that we took.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think inspiring our kids is a huge driver for many people and totally makes sense. And technology is exciting. I'd like to switch gears here and ask my other kind of common question on this podcast, because this podcast is all about frameworks, business frameworks, how we can help the listeners understand things, simplify things, understand the different perspectives. So my question to you is, what is your favorite shortcut to success or framework? Shortcut is not negative in a sense, but a framework that allows you to understand things in different ways, to make decisions, to be able to serve clients, to create a valuable outcome, whatever it is, but something that worked for you and it's simple enough that you can explain in 3 to 5 steps to the listeners.
Well, I believe in always be open to learning. It's not specifically a framework, but it's just having a mentality that we don't know everything. And especially now, as quickly as things are changing. I mean, even though a lot of people said, for example, coming back to AI is kind of create humanity to be a little dumber than we are. But actually, I learned a lot from it as well. If I'm doing something and I'm like, oh, this is a great way to be able to speed up the process. So let's say, for example, I have some kind of question, client asking me a question. There's different ways to look at it. Either if I know an answer because I had a specific experience in it, I can answer, right? Doesn't always mean it's going to be right. I can research it, or I can get an answer also from AI and then also research it and experience it to make sure that it's actual outcome that it says it's gonna do. The learning is making sure that you're always open to figuring out, are the steps that you've taken before the right steps, or can you actually optimize it? I'm a big believer into everything can be optimized, especially now, right? There's no question that can go unanswered in the quickest amount of time. It may be very, very deep philosophical questions, but to a certain extent, majority of the questions specifically in terms of business or work or even life, I had kind of like a vertigo type of feeling. And I was like, what exactly is it? I put specific prompts into ChatGPT. It actually broke it down for me very well. Then I went to a doctor. I checked first with a friend of mine who's a nurse, and she's like, this is probably what you have. And she was asking me these questions. I was like, this is so funny. This is exactly the same questions that ChatGPT asked me. And her husband was like, you know what? So it proves that medicine is a set of questions. And as you answer a specific question, it leads you to the next question. So it's like a dynamic questionnaire. And once I get those answers, I went to a doctor. I already knew exactly what potentially was, and I knew exactly which as a doctor to know exactly what I need to do next in order for me to fix it.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is there's always a way to improve it. I'm a big believer in that. It doesn't matter what you're doing, because in this age, everything moves very fast. Doesn't matter what business you're in.
That's true. It's interesting. You say ChatGPT can answer any questions, and it is true. Sometimes it hallucinates, but it does answer it. Yesterday, I went to a presentation, and the president of Great Game of Business, and he talked about that. Hey, today the answer is everywhere, so it's not a lack of answers; it's a lack of good questions. So what we have to come up with is really good questions to ask. That's the bigger challenge than actually the answer, which I thought was an interesting thought.
I agree. It was the same thing, right? Like, it kind of relates to prompts as well, right? If you have a good prompt, you're going to get a better answer. If you have a good question, you're going to get a better answer. So it's, yeah, I agree with you. Listen, AI is not a solution 100%, but it's a big help,
Yeah.
especially if you're just starting off.
Yeah. So what drives your business? Is it technology? Is it trends? Is it something else? What drives it?
Kind of like a mix between technology and growth marketing. What that means is we work with clients all the way from ideation and all the way to scaling. We have several clients that have exited as well. So clients come to us, hey, I have an idea. How do I take my idea to the next step? Obviously now there is AI builders and AI platforms that can help take from an idea, just like here's an idea, high level idea. How do I actually create some kind of a prototype or at least some kind of flow, right? But ideally, we're working with clients from that idea stage all the way to design, all the way to development, all the way to launch and driving traffic to it. So perfect client is kind of fits into that category. They might have an idea for web application, mobile application, or software. They come to us. They're not really sure what the next steps are, or they've done the research. Like for example, I spoke to a prospective client the other day. She's worked with a developer. He tried to build it in an AI builder. For some reason, something didn't work out, and then she's back at step one. So now we have to review what does she actually want to build, and what is the best way to approach it, and figure out what is phase one, what is phase two, what is phase three, and so on. So that's kind of how we work. Our clients, it's not only let us develop it for you. It's about also the creative. It's about also the messaging. It's about also the user experience. It's about making sure that they download it or they came to website or web application and it serves their purpose. It's a problem solution product. So it serves their purpose. It solves a problem, and then they come back and back and back and back, and then we're also growing to new audiences. So that's kind of like when it starts to scale or becomes exponential. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, you work from the idea forward or you work from the outcome backwards? What's the approach?
It's a great question. Not everyone always knows the outcome. When you have an idea and an outcome that works better, right? Because then you have to help them get to that outcome. But overall, the outcomes usually are just very high level. I want to build this web application or this software because I'm targeting this audience. Well, what does that really mean? What problem are you solving? To be honest with you, 90% of people don't really know like what problems they should be solving from the initial stage when they launch. So talking about frameworks, it's like we work with them to define what problems should be solving now, because you don't have majority of startups or even companies that very profitable and just trying to add new technology into the workflow into their business. A lot of times don't know what that one or two problems they should solve for the MVP before they go all in.
Yeah. So, okay. So if step one is to define the problem, what's step two?
Make sure that you have the right audience for the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you try to serve everyone. You don't want to go too broad. You don't want to go too narrow. If you go too narrow, you're going to hit a ceiling before you even, go to market.
You determine the audience for that problem that you want to solve the problem for, right? And then
Correct.
what's the next step?
Once you determine the audience and you have the problem, then the best thing is to create some kind of a prototype and to actually go to the audience and have a product market fit, meaning having feedback. Again, it doesn't have to be actually fully working product, but go to that audience and get feedback that yes, this does solve my problem, and yes, I would pay for it. Or even better yet, for them to actually exchange some money for being on a wait list or having some kind of initial phase of that product so they can actually test it and even give feedback. That's the best. Because once you have that input as a next step, easier to make adjustments, doesn't matter if it's within design or within the actual working product, that fit that audience, that niche audience.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you design the prototype, minimum viable product, then you test it, you get feedback. Then what do you
Well,
do?
I want to clarify. Designing prototype and having minimal viable product can be two separate things.
Okay.
You can design prototype, again, it can be designed within Figma, within AI Builder, just flow. So obviously now it's a little, you can have more of a prototype because you can just build something really quick. Doesn't mean it's going to be production ready, but a minimal viable product, usually it's going to be minimal viable product serving one or two issues, one or two problems for that market, problem, solution, product, actually working, meaning it's going to be more production ready.
Yeah.
So they're two separate things. It's a very big difference.
Yeah, because now you have vibe coding and you can create in Lovable or whatever, you can create the prototype, but it's not going to work. And then you have to create the working prototype.
Correct.
Yes, I agree. Then you test it, you expose it to the target market and then you get feedback. And then what do? You iterate or so what's the next step?
You iterate, yeah. So either at that point, yes, you have product market fit, you have great feedback from users, maybe even better, like I said, best scenario, they've given you some money, and then you either expand on what has been built or you actually go all in, you start putting more money into it and actually start building production ready product. And then once you have it, again, maybe at this point you need to improve your user interface as well. This is a lot of times what happens, especially if you vibe code it. It's not the best output, especially for user interface design, like for user experience. So you might have to improve that, which means you have to design the user interface, you actually have to develop it, and then you go to market with a production ready application. And then it goes back into the cycle of iteration, meaning you're going to keep on getting feedback. This is why we recommend a lot of times not to go with a whole bunch of features. One or two main features, one or two main flows within those specific features that you need. That's it. Forget about everything else.
Yeah, and then you can add features later. When
You can add features majority of the time in the beginning. If you add a whole bunch of features, you will cut at least 40% of them because people are just not going to use them. I don't mean features like sign up, sign in, forget password, onboarding, authentication, that type of stuff. You need that, obviously. You got to figure out who your audience is. Do you need to have SMS? Do you need to have email? Do you need to have both? Do you need to have social logins, right? Like you got to make sure you clarify who your audience is, but not everything together. You might need everything together, but not in the beginning.
Yeah, that's true. So you work with other businesses. So you're like a business to business agency, right? Or
Business to business, business to government. We've also done business to consumer apps as well. But usually our client is the business to business
yeah.
because
So
it's
here's my
a
question: business to business. How do you gain the trust of people so that they even engage with your product? So I understand there's a funnel, but how do you get people into the top of the funnel, businesses? How do you create the initial trust so that they engage? What does it take?
many ways. One way, content helps. Obviously, creating content like this, creating videos. I create videos on a regular basis talking about what's out there, what's possible, what's good, what's bad. kind of like the everyday life of agency, and then what type of work we do, projects being posted on different directories, different platforms, previous clients. We get a lot of previous clients that come back to us, client referrals. We're ranked pretty well for SEO and AEO. So a lot of people find us in ChatGPT, and especially since this is one of the services that we offer, people find us for best app developers, best website designer in our specific area. So we're not specifically nationwide. That's a lot harder to be able to reach in a longer strategy. But in our area, like in Maryland, Howard County, Maryland, Columbia, Maryland, we come up pretty high.
And what does it take to rank high in AEO, in AI?
It's the same approach that we take to rank within Google. So Google obviously owns Gemini. Google has Google AI Overview. It's a real estate play. If you have a website that's properly structured for Google with some changes, meaning like you understand now that with semantic search, you have questions, answers. So if you updated questions, answers for every page, especially the product pages and service pages, adding robot.txt with really proper description so that when robots get to your site, they can read it right away and they can recommend where you need to go, right? That's when you see the sources. That's exactly what's reading from your site. Making sure you have the right technical setup. Your website's fast. You have the right H1, H2, H3 on the site. So just proper structure. If you're following proper structure with some improvements specifically for AEO and GEO, right? So now it's not just SEO, AEO, GEO, right? But like with the right improvements on a site, you will most of the time show up in ChatGPT, Google AI Overview, Gemini, Perplexity, and then also if you have Google Maps, Google Business Profile listing on Google Maps, and that's properly set up, because there's been a lot of changes recently from Google side as well, you will locally come up in AI search as well.
So isn't it true that AI search basically looks for different kind of signals than the traditional SEO? I understood that, for example, backlinks are not that important for AI search than it used to be.
They're not as important for AI search, but backlinks still are pretty heavy. But you don't have to, yeah, they're not as important for AI search. Again, here's what you have to think about. If your website is properly structured, so there's two separate parts, right? There's Google search and Google AI Overview and Google feature snippets, which are all on Google, and there's Google Maps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you don't need to have a website just to be on Google Maps. You just need to have a proper Google business profile. Okay, and you can still come up in AI search. It does help when you have a website because it's another signal to Google, but it's not as important. The most important thing, and I'll answer the question for both. For Google Maps, if you have proper Google business profile with constant updates, let's say blog posts, video, photo, just information being posted about your business, that the business is active and it's updating people, that teaches Google AI about what the business does. So you want to have product pages updated, you want to have images, you want to have descriptions, you want to have, if it's location based specifically, where you're located, all of that educates Google so that Google can rank you higher in Google Maps, which, like I said, Google Maps ranks very well in AI search. That's one, right? If you have a website, it's great to have a website. On a website, again, it's good to have Google Map on your website as well, because that feeds another signal from Google Maps that you also have it on your website. For example, some of our clients that are multi-location, we have Google Maps on their site with their locations, and that helps. Then you also have location pages, so just like you have product pages or service pages. Google and AI does not rank websites. It ranks pages, specific pages of a website. That's why a lot of times, top of the funnel is more like blog posts or just content for somebody answering somebody's problem. And then that content, that video, that visual or video and written content explains what the problem is and feeds to a service page or a product page. That's kind of how it works. Make sense?
Yeah, that's very interesting. So if I want to increase my AI ranking, someone told me, one of my clients, that if you have your clients post on Reddit about you, that's really powerful and that's going to drive AI. Is that true?
Reddit, Quora, very powerful. Very powerful. It ranks very high. Listen, I'll give you a perfect example. Something very simple that everybody can do. If you go to Quora or Reddit and you look at questions that people ask, so you in search, you put, let's say, for example, app development, okay? And then you look on the left side, questions. It will literally tell you what questions people are asking. If you will answer those questions about your service or product and have a backlink, again, naturally, not trying to sell something, but naturally, that's a huge backlink. Talking about backlinks. Backlinks are still relevant. They just don't have maybe as high value as before, but they're still very valuable because that's how Google and other websites, again, when you're searching for something within ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you see sources. Those sources are backlinks. They're citations. So if you have proper citations, which you should have for your website, it will always help you be found. You just got to make sure it's properly set up and Google or whatever other search understands what it means. But yes, Reddit and
Yeah.
Quora, just to answer your question directly, is amazing to be found because they're very valuable websites with a lot of traffic, very high domain rating.
Yeah, that's great. So Google Maps, Reddit, Quora, they are big drivers. That's great.
Huge driver. I mean, listen, there's many others, but the reason why social media is big in the past 2 years, before Instagram, if you would make a reel, you would not be able to find it on Google. And then in the past 2 years, they opened it up. Why do you think they opened it up? Because they know the content. And just like YouTube, you can find your videos by a specific keyword. They opened it up because they want to make sure videos are found on Google search or AI search. And then it leads to their platform. And if somebody who's not a current user signs up for Instagram because they like those videos, they like that creator. So yeah, this is all backlinks. It's just how do you use those backlinks? I mean, YouTube has been
Hmm.
a huge driver for people to get any type of answers, to learn pretty much anything. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. It's just a whole
Yeah.
big spider web.
Yes, it's interesting. So basically, the more content I have and the more content other people post about me in credible sites, whether it's Reddit, Quora, YouTube, social media, and they all point to my website or web pages, then the more it's going to be discoverable by AI. That's
You're
kind of
definitely
makes
going to be
sense.
more. You're going to be more discoverable. But again, if it's just going to be like, oh, Steve Preda, doesn't mean unless somebody's searching your name, it's going to be valuable for you. So if they're going to be responding, how to apply a specific framework, and somebody's searching for a specific framework that's relevant to what they've posted or what you've posted, then it has relevancy. That makes
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. If you could have a magic wand and fix one thing inside your company in the next 12 months, what would that be?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I think I would be very interested to apply more AI agents so things are driving business more for more growth. Yeah, just overall healthy growth, making sure that the work that we're doing, we're happy about the work, our clients are happy about the work, because then that results in just better outcomes and longer happiness and growth for the company. I mean, my ultimate goal at a certain point is probably to grow the company and sell it. We're happy with what we're doing, our clients are happy with what we're doing. I think that's going to organically achieve itself.
Yeah. And what do you need to make the company saleable in your perspective?
Having good scalable systems and AI will help with a lot of those things.
So do you believe that a company which have at the extreme only have AI employees can be a very
No, no, no,
valuable company?
no, not to have only. I'm not planning to let go of any of my employees. What I'm saying is it can help because there's certain minimal things that need to be done and sometimes get missed or forgotten. That's a perfect fit for AI. Like even, for example, having conversation, right? And then you have, if somebody's managing, if a project manager is managing several clients, usually what we do is we have updates for what we discussed. Obviously, yes, AI can record it, but what are the actionable steps? And then from actionable steps, what has been done? What still needs to be done? There's just certain things that AI agents can help with that doesn't have to involve a human. So time is not wasted, but can be actually be applied to make sure, yes, this was done, and here's what else needs to be done in order for us to reach that output that you were talking about.
What is your opinion about controlling AI agents? What is the level of risk? Not just about someone maybe doing a prompt injection and kind of hijacking your agents, but losing control of the agents in terms of the complexity. So, do you see a risk there that someone could kind of unleash these agents and somehow not being able to control them, or the quality of their work could not control that? Or something changes and the agents get impacted, maybe a software update or something like that. Is this a thing, or that's not a
Um,
concern?
I think it should definitely be always, like, for example, we're building right now a platform with AI to gather RFPs, review them, score them, and create actually outputs like the structure of the RFP. But before they get submitted for an actual person to review them, I think they should always be final approval by a human, unless it's such a perfect system. I mean, it's software, right? Obviously, at a certain point, can something go wrong? Yes, because there's certain updates unless you own the full process from beginning to end. Yeah, I think there's always a risk, but there's always a risk with software. It's the same software. Should definitely be some guardrails, no doubt about it. I don't think it should be the last step before a human approves it and actually, let's say, applying to this example RFPs, sends the RFP response to whatever platform. I think a human, again, should always review and approve to make sure everything's working properly. But I think he can save, like, for example, instead of us doing 2 or 3 RFPs a month, we can go to 10 and 15 RFPs. I mean, the quality is not really changing. It's structure. It's an answer, right? It's an answer of what they're asking. So if it fits the criteria what we're looking for, we don't have to spend the time to review. I mean, like, we just got an RFP the other day. It was 150 pages, like probably 2 days just to read this RFP. And at a certain point, you're like, you know what? This is not a good fit. So it saves time, just
Yeah.
more creates efficiency. They should definitely be guardrails and certain structure for sure. And a human should be
Mhm.
involved in the loop. That I agree with you on.
Okay, it's a big topic. One of the thoughts is that at some point AI is talking to AI. Like in hiring, you see that these big recruiting companies, they use AI to filter the resumes. And then the applicants, they use AI to write the resume so that it fits what the resume filters are looking for. And then at some point, the authenticity or the credibility of these resumes begin to fade because it's all prearranged. So then the whole purpose of being able to filter employees starts to diminish. Do you think this kind of thing might happen with RFPs too?
Maybe, very possible. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not happening already. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very possible. There's already several platforms that find RFPs. They work a little different. We're building specifically for our own purpose. I do want to document the process to kind of show, hey, here's what can be done. But yeah, it's very possible for sure. Listen, if you're relying on a regular process to get a job, then you're not going to get a job. There's a lot more people actually looking for work now. I don't know if you heard of Microsoft and I think Tesla. I mean, there's companies letting go of people left and right. Microsoft is letting go of, they're actually offering long-term employees a buyout. Long-term employees
Mhm.
meaning people that are probably older, they're not as knowledgeable with AI, not as experienced. Hey, let us buy you out, so you go in retirement a little earlier. So this is happening, So
Yeah,
if you're looking to go through the same regular process as everyone else, you're going to be competing against 500 people, 1,000 people to get a job. Obviously, it's employer's market right now, not an employee's market. If you're trying to get a job, it should not be a regular process. It should be people that you know. Networking is going to have even more value, personal connections, and them knowing, hey, they actually spoke to me the right way. You should know how to use AI, right? Because that's going to give you an edge to get a job. But actually speaking to someone should go through a specific network and connections.
yeah. That's my feeling
And
also that the human interaction is going to actually increase in value
yeah,
dramatically because the authenticity, that's the only way for you to get authenticity to be face to face with someone, a
yeah,
physical being. That's fascinating.
yeah.
Okay,
But listen,
so
I'll tell you, like I said, I post videos on a regular basis. My mom asked me the other day. She's like, "Max, are your videos AI or is it really you?" I said, "No, it is me. It's not AI." So it's funny because I mean, AI is getting so good that you're not really sure if it's real or not. But I do think,
yeah,
and listen, even with RFPs, right? It's not all about just submission or getting a job and just submitting your resume. Personal and human connection is going to be more valuable than ever. If I knew every buyer that is putting out an RFP, I'd rather talk to them 100%
yeah,
because it's a different
yeah.
process.
No, yeah, that's spot on. Love it. So great information. I love the framework of define the problem and determine the audience, prototype, create the MVP, test, and then iterate. And that's how you get your digital product. That's a website or an app. So if you're out there and you're looking for a solution, Max has the solution for Max Kryzhanovskiy. So if you'd like to connect with Max Kryzhanovskiy and MOS Creative, then where can people reach you?
People can reach us on our website, www.moscreative.com. They can find me on LinkedIn under Max Kryzhanovskiy or MOS Creative. They can fill out a form on our website or just email at info@moscreative.com.
Fantastic. So if you want an AI driven platform, then do reach out to Max. So, Max, thank you for coming and sharing your ideas. And I love it that you have such a strong vision on AI and then you're experimenting for your company, which means your client's going to have access to that as well. And if you enjoyed this conversation, then stay tuned because every week there is an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur coming here and sharing their ideas. So thanks for coming, Max, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. For more practical ideas, join my free weekly newsletter at stevebreda.com/newsletter.